Prepping America. Ready for anything.
Ready for anything, Thomas Off-Gridder. Welcome to the first show. It's the Hawk Prepper right here. Good to see you guys. How you doing today?
Welcome. Thanks. I'm doing good, James.
Episode 1, Thomas. We have to get into this. Let's get into the state of the economy because we always start our Prepping America show with hot news. The economy is hot news. Let's get into it.
Hey, Lynette, people are freaking out about the stocks right now because of the dip this month. But in reality, stocks are up 9% year to date. Should people pull out their money or should they keep investing?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say everybody needs to do what they're comfortable doing. But I've been around in these markets for a very long time. And what I seem to know that, for whatever reason, most people don't, is that what we're experiencing is a reset of the entire economic, financial, and social systems. So that means that the dollars, well, here's a dollar. Okay, that the dollar is going to lose 100% of its value. If you're in stocks, guess what? You can only convert that into these things which are going away. And as you can see, I mean, not much difference between that. There are a whole bunch of currencies that have zero value. This is the time to get to safety, not run into the fire.
I love her advice. The reason why currencies are going to be valueless, if not already, they're debt notes. They're not gold and silver. Gold and silver is real money. Everything else is credit. That's from J.P. Morgan, the original J.P. Morgan 100 years ago. It's not from me. Gold and silver is money. Everything else is credit. And the credit system is being blown up, destroyed, dismantled. Thomas, welcome to the show. Go ahead and weigh in on this economic news and tell us what's going on in Germany as well.
Yeah, I just read the news yesterday in Germany, and actually the first time they admitted the real estate market is crashing, but full steam. I mean, literally full steam. The situation right now in Germany, companies, particularly mid-sized companies yet, they folding up like there's no tomorrow. I mean, left and right. The big companies like Bayer, which you all guys know, you use aspirin, right? So yeah. It's Bayer. They're leaving Germany. And other massive companies are leaving Germany. So it looks pretty bad over there right now. And since we're in a global economy, we have to pay attention what's going on in other countries. You have the same in China. The Chinese economy is doing very, very poorly right now. So when I contact my import partners over there, they're saying it's not looking great. So it's kind of closing in on us, right? So it's coming.
Yeah, it's like one of those horror movies where the walls are closing in on you. It's exactly the reason why you left California 2020. It's why I left New York City in 2020. I didn't officially move out of New York City until 2021 because I came and brought property and built a house in 6 months. So that's what I did. But the reality is you and I both got out of, you in the San Francisco Bay Area, me right in Midtown Manhattan, Upper East Side. I mean, we got out for a reason. We saw what's coming 4 years ago. So go ahead.
You've seen the headlines about New York, right? The rental market. They now cut you off half the rent. They give you all kinds of incentives. They cannot even rent the apartments out anymore.
Yeah, and the worst part is the commercial real estate is in a massive meltdown crisis. I mean, talk about Midtown office, premium real estate, prime lots in Midtown Manhattan are being auctioned for about $12 a square foot. You can't even build a building in New York City under $250 of value. Mm-hmm. So how do you build 250 square foot, $250 square foot versus $12 or $15? The economy is dead. New York City is going to implode, and all of the governments, your blue city, my blue city, your blue state, California, my blue state, our former states, New York, are sloshing around in debt, and they're expecting to be bailed out every time by Washington. But I see the Federal Reserve crashing, and then who bails out anybody? Nobody. The states will go. All of them, the blue cities will implode. Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it in California coming, right? As I told you many times, since I was deeply involved in logistics, and a lot of goods coming through Oakland and Long Beach and stuff like that. I saw this entire thing coming, and all the politics there the tax increases for like trucking, all the roadblocks they put in everybody's way. There was no other logical outcome that this is going sideways. And they blew this up in the Bay Area, real estate prices and values through the Silicon Valley. But now all these companies are moving, right? I just got a news, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I lived in Danville next to the San Ramon.
Yep.
Toyota's headquarters was in San Ramon. They're leaving California. They're done. It's the next big company. They're packing up. It's over. You know how many jobs those are?
Yeah, a lot of big tech is relocated to Austin and other parts of Texas, as an example. A lot of New York Financial have all moved their offices down here in Florida. You know, one is there's no personal income tax in either one of these states, but also both of these states are not going to lock down when the new federal mandates come in for the monkeypox hoax. You know, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's go one more time to the store apocalypse, because this is happening in real time. And one thing after another is imploding. Subway, you know, you might not be a big Subway fan as far as fast food, but if Subway goes down, so do all the rest of them. Let's get into the next video right here.
Stores that are closing in 2024, closing all 540 remaining stores after filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Family Dollar is closing 600 stores in the first half of the year. Party City is closing all 45 of their remaining stores. CVS is closing 900 stores by the end of the year. Foot Locker is closing a total of 400 stores in underperforming mall locations, closing all 360 remaining stores after filing for bankruptcy. Christmas Tree Shops is closing all 73 of its remaining stores. Rite Aid has already closed 231 locations this year. Best Buy are closing 15 of their locations, closing all stores as part of a shift to online retail. Closing all 371 locations makes sense considering the economy. Express closes 95 of its stores as part of its bankruptcy restructuring. Walgreens is closing 150 stores by August. H&M is planning to close 240 stores globally, closing 50 stores in 2024 and potentially more if they don't find a buyer. The discount retailer has closed all of its nearly 200 stores following its bankruptcy filing.
That is incredible news, and there's going to be a lot more. So that's not only retail, but now you're going to start seeing food go with it. Fast food is going down the tubes.
Yeah,
that is a bellwether right there. They're telling us what's actually coming. Thomas, talk to us about. I mean, I used to go to San Francisco, and I'm actually going to a wedding in October if I'm allowed to fly. You can never tell. But I'm supposed to go in California, Napa Valley and stuff. And I used to stay in San Francisco prior to COVID, right? Everything's gone. The hotels, the big hotels like the huge Hilton Hotel in Union Square, that's long gone. That closed 2 or 3 years ago. And all the stores, all the Walgreens are closed down because you're getting all the looting of the stores, and the security is too expensive, and they just can't keep up. So they're imploding fast. These cities, when the financial markets crash, these cities will not be safe, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, just look at San Francisco, right? When I came to California, I was what, 19 years ago or something? What a beautiful city. Now I compared with Mad Max. It's bad. Yeah. I mean, you can't go to San Francisco anymore. Everything is shut down. There is literally pee-poo on the street. I mean, it smells lousy. It's, you had in the past a little bit homeless here and there. I mean, that's not a little bit anymore. This thing is Mad Max. It's out of control. It looks like the Hunger Games or something like this. I mean, how could this happen in such a short period of time, really? Because it's not really that long.
It is kind of stunning. And, we're going to focus today on site planning is really the focus of today's show, and how not to make a mistake. And we'll get into that in 1 minute. But with the cities falling apart, even if you're out there, and in our PowerPoint deck, we'll get into a couple of minutes, we have news on JB Hunt, but a lot of the logistics, if they don't deliver your food, what are you going to do? When the supermarkets, the grocery stores near you are closed, what are you going to do? New York City doesn't have a place that processes food within a radius of 100 miles. So the people in the city are in deep trouble if the trucking shuts down. So you need to purchase things of this nature, which is, meals to go. They have like a 25-year shelf life. You have it in a container, a bunch of these, and this gives you all the protein you need. And I got a 2-month supply. I'll probably end up getting another one. And next week for the audience, we're going to have a gold-silver affiliate program for you. We're going to have a food prep program for you, because it's time to get ready. Stuff's happening. Thomas?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just look what's happening in trucking. You just mentioned Chevy Hunt, right? I received a phone call from someone down in Tucson, and he sent me a picture. Unfortunately, it was not that good because he was driving the car on the freeway. And they're sitting 500 to 600 trucks roughly from Chevy Hunt, including all containers, and everything is down. That's a big portion of their fleet. That's really concerning, right?
Totally concerning. So this is Prepping America, Great Reset Prepping. Episode number 1. We will, we want to remind you of how important it is, but what we're getting to is, well, it's not just economies that are being destroyed. Look at this news. So the World Health Organization never had the nations sign the pandemic treaty. Is that going to stop them from trying to lock down the world? No. The WHO orders governments to prepare for mega lockdowns due to deadly monkeypox strain. So we got this coming, Thomas. Like I said, some states where you probably live, where I live, where others in Texas and stuff, these states will not shut down, but I can assure you the blue cities and blue states will lock down. Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, they will lock it down like the deadly COVID virus, right? So
Yeah.
we shut off the world again, right? I mean, that's why I did what I did 3 years ago, because whether this gets shut down or not shut down, honestly, I'm right now down in my house here in the Phoenix area. But for me, I jump in the car, James, and I'm safe. I'm good.
You're good. You are
can
good.
lock down whatever they want. I really don't care for my safety or my family's safety. I sleep very well in multiple angles. I'm not worried about a massive war or lockdown or food shortage. I have enough stuff out there. I can take it easy, really.
You're really out in an area where people will never find you.
Right.
Essentially.
Absolutely. There's no way.
The coyotes will find you. The scorpions will find you. The snakes will find you, but not wandering people. That's for sure.
No way. No way.
Right. And you're on a semi-desert plateau. So up there, it gets cold at night. And if people are not prepared, they come in its hot weather, and then at night it drops and can drop rapidly. Right, Thomas?
Yeah. Also, I mean, all kinds of stuff. You have monsoon out there, flash flooding, and all kinds of stuff. So it's a very good environment for off-grid living.
Yep.
But you got to have your stuff together, right? So that's just the way it is. And when I saw like these other shows on TV when they talk about prepping and tell people, hey, get a backpack, it reminds me a little bit, James, like when you get a life jacket in an airplane with that little whistle, right? So you're in the middle of the ocean, you blow the whistle and you get help. I mean, that's pretty much what your backpack will do for you. Absolutely nothing. You got to be really prepared. You got to have your infrastructure together. And to get there, that's something you got to have really a lot of knowledge about how to build a compound like this for all this off-grid stuff. Right?
Yeah, and we'll show you some videos of Thomas and what he's talking about this past week, in fact. So just a quick note, the government is out to impose lockdowns, mask mandates, and vax mandates this flu season. Now, these monkeypox vaccines have fluoride in it. They'll literally cripple you. I got a video for that at the end as a warning. With these new classifications, it's already in the process. So yeah, I can assure you the lockdowns are coming. We have a what do you call that? A cyber polygon on the 10th of September and the 11th of September, of course, 9/11, of course. So where the grids could literally shut down for a couple of days. So this is, we have to get ready for everything. But one of the keys to preparing for these lockdowns that are coming in parts of the country and the world is to, again, buy food. Get ready. Buy a lot of water. If you live out in the country, stock up. Water will never go bad. Some of it might evaporate. You can never overbuy enough water. Thomas?
Yeah, that's why, as you know, we have well drilling equipment and stuff like that, right? So we store a massive amount of water. And then in conjunction with the well, you need power to pump the water out of the ground. And we will talk about this also when you pick a location, when you pick a certain area where you want to buy a piece of land and go off grid, because it is really crucial. You start this right from the very, very beginning.
Correct. Now, America, the radical left, the socialists, the Marxists, they always try to remove the guns from American people, they've failed. They've done it in England. They've done it in Holland. They've done it in Germany, probably, right, Thomas?
Yeah, in Germany, it happened a long time ago when the friend with the beard was still there, right? And
Yeah.
you saw where it got the people, right? I argue always with my German friends. Hey, you guys are crazy over there in America with all your guns. I say, guys, if the population in Germany would have been armed when this person rose to power, he would have never done what he did. That's how
Correct.
simple it is.
Yeah, so here's just an example of why America is different than Australia, New Zealand, and the rest. The number of hunting licenses sold in the United States last year was greater than 10 biggest armies in the world combined. That's a fact. That is a stunning number. So, when you're out live off grid, you need to be armed, not necessarily for other people, but certainly for some wild animals, right, Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, we have all kinds of animals out there, black bears, mountain lions, snakes. But you know what? It's more an accident if you get attacked by a mountain lion. So really nothing ever happened out there. If you're not a complete fool and run around at night in the bushes out there, right? And meet a mountain lion was the cub, and you are fine. I mean, we have recordings from black bears trashing the water trough and stuff like that and having a hell of a time, right?
Yeah. So you and I spoke yesterday on JB Hunt Update. So let's start off with the fact that they filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy in mid-July or earlier July. So that was about 4 or 5 weeks ago, right? So they're in financial distress. But then you got a call, or you saw, talk to us about what you saw in the yard locally in Tucson.
So a friend of mine called me and said, hey, man, the entire yard in Tucson, all these JB Hunt trucks are in here, or the containers. He estimated roughly 500 to 600. He's good at it. He has a truck repair facility. And he already told me his business is going down rapidly. So they don't repair as many trucks anymore as they used to. So that's a direct indicator that way less freight is moving, way less. And he said the only business I'm doing right now is pretty much maintaining fleets, like from the city and stuff like that, construction stuff, but not anymore over the road trucks. And 500 to 600 trucks parked. Can you imagine what volume that is?
It's an amazing amount. And I'm tying this possibly to the monkeypox lockdown. It's almost like the corporations are telling trucking corporations to stand down, right? It's like no longer deliver. And the reason why the lockdowns are coming, and this is going to squeeze everybody. Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, I warned, right? What was it? When did we talk about it? It was a while ago, right? On the show where I said, hey, shipping costs will rise, this, right? So my other buddy recently buys lumber. And says, man, the lumber was what? A 2x4 by 8 was $279. Now it's already at $380 again.
Correct.
I mean, we're talking, this is a massive jump. And that's not the end of it. I was recently with my wife in a furniture store, and I talked to the manager because they kind of delayed our stuff, right? And what happened is he told me then, their prices are rising like there's no tomorrow. It's going up like crazy.
Well, let's look at this. This is CBS News. This is the 14th of August, so that's this week. U.S. nearly doubles duty, right, tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber. It's not going to make it cheaper, is it?
There you go.
Yep.
So that will get it going. On top, rising shipping costs. But that's just one part, right? It's lumber, right? A lot of stuff comes from overseas, and the shipping costs are they're blowing up. I talked to another guy who lives at our ranch out there. He's a trucker, in fact. And he was in Colorado and called me and said, Thomas, I can't go home. My fuel card doesn't work anymore in the trucking company. And I said, you know what? That's it. If the fuel card doesn't work in a trucking company, it's a pretty large company. Said, you better pack your bags because that's the end of it. That's the most important thing in a truck is fuel, right? When this stuff is shut down, you're already on your way out.
Yep. Audience, we have a website up, preppingamerica.us. We're going to have an online store there, of course. We're going to have our first sponsor is ProImmune. we're going to have a discount code there, an affiliate program that you can go and boost your immune system. So it's not enough just to have this. You actually want powder that creates glutathione, which will keep you strong if you really get, how would I say, worn out, squeezed, whatever. It's real simple. It's powder added to a drink or whatever, and you simply drink it down. It's completely safe, pro-immune. So it will be in our shop on this first show, and we'll go from there.
Introducing Pro-Immune, Immune Formulation 200, a groundbreaking solution revolutionizing glutathione replenishment. Optimize your health with Pro-Immune. Experience the power of non-toxic premium nutrition for natural intracellular glutathione production, specifically targeting your body's vital cells. Elevate your wellness journey today. Harnessing the power of nature's principles of evolution, Pro-Immune ensures superior glutathione replenishment unlike anything else on the market. A true scientific discovery of epic proportions. Experience the revolution. Pro-Immune, transforming wellness naturally.
Yeah, it's something really people should put in consideration is your personal fitness, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
look at me. I lost a ton of weight now within a couple of months. I'm working out like a horse with my son because you want to be fit. I mean, when I built this compound out there, I was skinny. Then I went down in the land of plenty like everybody else. The burger stores around the corner. I like burgers. I can't help it, right?
Well, you're Nordic descent like I am, right? You're from Germany. My parents from Norway. We eat a heavy diet. We eat a lot of meat and stuff. And if we're not super active, we do gain weight pretty easy.
Oh, very easy. Very easy. So, but you want to be really fit because when we start building all this out there and you get sick, you don't have a real, like in an RV, it's always a little bit damp and this and this and this, right? Till you have your house built and you're sick. That's not a nice thing. I mean, it's very uncomfortable. So you want to be in shape. Besides you take care of all your other stuff, but it also requires mentally and the physical strength, right?
Let's get into site preparation. I want to talk about the importance of access to your site, and we'll talk about how to choose a site. But let's play this video. It's a great video you actually have here, Thomas. A minute video.
Okay, here off grid again, another heavy transport going to another off-grid project just to make you understand how difficult everything is out here. So it's not a warehouse. That means we got to bring the forklift with us. Those are solar panels, washer dryer for the building, and all this goes now off-road with roughly 30,000 pounds of weight on that trailer. So and there's a very steep hill on the other ranch. That means we got to unload that forklift before we even go up the hill. We wouldn't even go up there with all the load. So that makes everything so complex. Doing these things out here, regular trucking companies would actually not do that. And there we have one F-350, 450. So that's pretty much what you need out here. Everything else, like the nice City Slicker 150, is really not going to cut it off grid. So a minimum of a 3/4 ton truck required to do anything out here.
Yeah, it's very important. People come out completely unprepared. They come out with an SUV like, no, it's not going to work.
Oh, James, we had people, they came out with a Range Rover. I said, what do you want to do with that Range Rover? Oh, it's four-wheel drive. It's four-wheel drive to get your Starbucks coffee. But it's definitely not made for out here. And it was very funny. I was at Lowe's and I was standing in line with the 450 in the trailer, right? And in front of me was a guy so-called off-gridder. And he came to me and says, oh, I would like to have that kind of a truck and that equipment. So he had a little rinka-dink one-axle trailer with these little metal bars around it. And here he loads 2 tons of wood on it. The entire thing collapsed on the road. I was like, oh, Jesus, that's exactly what you don't want to do. You gotta be aware that living off-grid costs a lot of money. Vehicles, infrastructure, everything.
Yeah, everything. And sometimes the first mistake is not only coming prepared, and you're dealing with terrain, and terrain's not forgiving. The weather's not forgiving sometimes, depending on the season. But you need to come prepared. And before we get into the few more videos, I really want to talk about site acquisition, site location, how to identify a site, because every state has got different laws and rules and codes.
Right.
And let's talk about, at least in Arizona, let's talk about how the site acquisition and mistakes that people often make. Go ahead, Thomas.
So, I mean, when I picked my property, number one, I looked at, is water there, right? So the property I have, we're sitting on the largest aquifer, the Coconino aquifer in Arizona. Is a massive underground aquifer. Goes from our area all the way down to the Grand Canyon. Water depth somewhere around 600 to 80 feet, 40 feet, depends on the terrain. Next thing I looked at is what's around me. Are there a lot of military bases around me? Are there strategic targets around me? I'm shielded by the mountains and so on and so forth. And then thirdly, I looked at properties for specific soil. Like in our area, there's a lot of properties that are sandy, very, very sandy. You can build on those things. You can cost you a lot of money, right? So
yeah, you would actually need to go get friction piles and drive them in the ground.
There you go. So
right. You do that in the city. You don't need, or along the beach. You don't do that out in the desert. Keep going, Thomas.
Right. And so also the soil is important. What kind of food can you grow? So we actually looked at the growing zones. What can you grow out there, right? When we found out you can grow everything out there where we are, besides like pineapple and lemons and stuff like that, but everything else grows just fine. I mean, the Indians living there for what, 2,000 years or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, and we have the water. The next thing is being away from the main road, but not too far. Why? A lot of people think, oh, it's further, it's better. Yeah, built there. It costs you a fortune logistically to transport all this stuff out there. So I want to give the audience a warning about that. You will be very surprised about the logistics expenses to build off-grid. Unless you have what I have, your own equipment, you can haul all this stuff out there and you put the man hour in it, right? The muscle. And so,
yeah.
And then if you're too far off the road, you also have an issue eventually when it rains or when it snows, you're not getting out of there. So those are all things you want to consider. I was lucky because I met a guy, his name is John, and John lives off-grid 15 years now. He's a realtor out there. He's pretty much at the very beginning of this entire development we're having out there. We have 5,500 ranches out there. And John knows literally, is it a lemon? Are you supposed to buy that or this property? He's doing it for 15 years. We will have him on the show once he has time.
Yep, we will.
Right. He's also a contractor. He does all the roads out there, building all these off-grid roads. He really knows what he's doing. And when I met him, I was like, oh, wow, they have real cowboys in Arizona. Because he's a real cowboy. He literally rode with a horse from Phoenix through the mountains up there. He asked me a couple of times to say, hey, buddy, I have a motorcycle. We're not riding no horses in the middle of nowhere. But he's a real cowboy. He's the real deal. And he knows, and those are the guys you want to get in touch with. So if the audience want to know about good off-grid properties, Sean is the guy for that. I don't know if we can blend his number in, James, or not, or how we maybe want to do that.
Yeah.
But he's the guy. He knows everything. He does it for 15 years. He's out there a long time. We now, me and other business partners, subdivided now one large parcel, and we put on one parcel water and electricity. And so we sell the other ones with water and electricity ready to go. So you can come, hook up your stuff, and you at least have a foundation to start quick. So because that's the big deal, is building the electricity, the power plant, and getting water on the side. And you barely find properties who have water and electricity right from the get-go. That's the problem, actually.
That's often the problem. And when you do initial research, you not only look for soil, but you look for water tables online. Can you do that?
Water tables, you can go to the Water Resource Board. They have a lot of data about that, like in Arizona Water Resource Board. A lot of data. They have actually test wells where they measure the water table, right?
Yep.
But you also want to look, like in our area, I don't know if the audience knows it or not, we have a lot of uranium. yellow cake mining from the past, right? New Mexico and such.
Yep.
So you got to pay attention to all these things a little bit because all of a sudden you drink your water and you glow like a glow stick at night. You don't want to have that, right?
you don't want to shorten your life that way. No, I agree with you. Let's play the next video.
Okay, special transport down there, the forklift. We didn't want to go up. Maybe it doesn't look as steep in the camera, but that's a fairly steep hill. And so we didn't want to go up with the truck and everything and all the weight, because last time it literally pulled me backwards down the hill. Was no stopping it. And so here comes Stefan, and that's all this stuff. So we're going on and off-grid side. That's what I'm talking about. This is the situation off-grid. So you got to be a little bit flexible, and you got to know what you are doing out here.
You know, Thomas, Norwegians and Germans have been called stubborn, I guess is the word, or obstinate or inflexible. As you and I age, we learn to become flexible because being stubborn is not going to solve problems in the field, is it? Come on, Thomas.
No. So yeah, this actually doesn't look so badly on the video, but I can tell you, you will have a hell of a time walking up that hill there. It's really steep in this particular ranch. And there was the forklift and other things. And then I came with 30,000 pounds of brick the next time. So I said, Stefan, you hook up the F-350 to the 450. Was it, so we use a tandem. But Stefan is not so good with towing. So he snapped the tow rope. And I said, get out of the way. I will try. It was the 450. Hauled ass up there, four-wheel low, 30,000 pounds. That thing yanked it up there. But you know what? Use an F-150 or a 1500 Chevy or whatever, right? You're more likely, you're not getting in the ranch with this kind of stuff.
No, and so you got to be practical, like what Thomas is talking about. If your load's too heavy for a hill, unfortunately, spend the extra time. Because I tell you, if you get a problem, you don't want to dig a ditch twice. So it's easier to do it in two stages than create a problem that you have to solve in the field. Solving a problem in the field becomes very expensive. No problem in the factory, but in the field, it's a major problem. Thomas?
Unbelievably expensive. I went the same hill last year. I went up with an F-250. Just a Kubota tractor, small tractor in the back, one pallet of concrete mixer. In the middle of that hill, the truck stopped. Not because lack of power. No traction, and it yanked me backwards downhill. Now, I was smart enough, grabbing down there an electric brake the trailer, lock the trailer tires up, and stop. We unloaded then the tractor on the hill, right? But if you yank down there and you go in the ditch, cost you roughly $3,000 to get a tow truck out there to get you recovered out there. So that's the problem.
Yeah, and that's if you don't damage your vehicle or trailer. That's for sure. Let's play the next video. Looks like more of the...
There creeps Stefan up the hill. We hope it's pretty steep. Really doesn't look like this in the camera. So here it comes the beast, the heister. And he made it in the first gear.
Always low gear.
So that's done. Yep.
Absolutely. Always low gear. Let's get to the next video.
Now, down the road we go. We're going to Kelly's property. You saw in an interview, it's pretty far going to her place. So my property is not that far off the road. Hers is a little bit of a different situation.
Very good. Talk to us. So she lives pretty far off. Talk to us about her particular property versus yours.
So my property is probably, I would say, 4 miles off the pavement max and fairly good accessible main entry road. So I probably have 1.5 miles on partially graveled roads. Hers is roughly 15, 18 miles back there. So last year, construction crew from Germany, a ton of concrete trucks came in. They all buried themselves in the sand. That's, for example, the difference. And everything was shut down. Concrete trucks were buried. We couldn't get them out for 8 hours. We had to dump the concrete on the road. And so the road had to be graveled first, even in order to continue construction. So that's a very important part. When you pick a location, make sure those roads are accessible. Look at the soil. Look whether it's clay, whether it's sand, whatever it is. And when is it not accessible? Is it just, it's not a problem if it rains and you have mud and whatever, it will dry out. But in her location, it's a sand dune in the back there. It's like the Sahara Desert, right?
Yeah.
So that's not anymore a temporary issue. That's a permanent issue. So that had to be fixed first. So there was a lot of rigmarole, attorneys involved, was the builder, the developer of that ranch. And so it took a long time. So it cost her a setback for a year. Now think about it, what this could do to you.
Time is money.
Right? Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
a change order. I'll give the audience an example of what Thomas just talked about. I used to work for a site engineering, actually it's called Site Engineers, a geotech engineering firm. I was just an inspector in the field way back in the day when I was younger, in my 20s. We were building the Comfort Inn on the Ben Franklin Bridge on the Philadelphia side. And they had the plans made, and it was right here. It was near the base of the 1926 bridge, the Ben Franklin Bridge. And when we started doing the excavations for the spread footings, guess what we found? We found a 1850 ferry slip there. So even the geotech engineering, which included test borings of the site beforehand, right? So they could design everything. They wanted to see what was there. They bring into a lab all the soils. They found traces of brick. Well, what was a brick? There were water wells, 100, back in 1850s. And no one knew this ferry slip lived. And they had cribbing that was exactly in the location of the spread footings. And under it were what looked like, until we sprayed the mud off it, it looked like telephone pole holes. But what they did back in the days, they took iron and they shaved it to a point, and they took iron and made a real steel point out of it, and they used horses to pile drive this in the different locations. That's exactly how it was done almost 200 years ago. So they had to go to the Philadelphia Free Library, public library there, in the archives, and they actually found how the ferry that used to go from Philly to Camden, how it was constructed before any of the bridges existed there. So that cost a month delay. We had to take everything out. Yeah, they brought in an archaeologist team in case there was anything like that would need to be saved. That wasted another week. Then we had to backfill everything with gravel, and that cost a small, maybe it was an $8 million project back in 1980s money. It cost an extra $150,000 change order. So time is money. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, I mean, time is money, but it's not only the money, James. If you want to get this project ready, right, and you have 1 year delay, do you have that year left? So you want to make sure you do this right from the beginning. I had all the time in the world. I did it early enough, but now we have, I don't know how many people came out there. There's like a total of 5,500 parcels roughly. That's a lot. I mean, it's a big area, and they sold during COVID like hotcake. I mean, now some go back on the market and whatnot, and John can help you finding a lot out there. But people came out there like there's no tomorrow, but they didn't come out there when I came. They bought it. Now they're waking up and saying, oh, now we got to do this, Thomas. We got to have this ready. So guys, I mean, I don't have this magic wand somehow, I don't know how to do it that quickly for you. I can't. It's a little bit late.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that buy properties and they do the research wrong.
Right.
Right. And we're going to provide for the audience a checklist next week, that a basic checklist that you can go through that will save you a lot of time, that you can do further research, because it's very important to pick the right location if this is where you intend to live for the next 20 years, rest of your life, whatever it may be. Right, Thomas?
Right. We will upload it to the website. I mean, everything is still a work in progress, right? Right.
Yeah.
At this point, our other team members will work on the website, and we will upload a checklist. We upload certain locations we recommend where I say that's a good location. I don't know so much about over there, Florida, and
I can do some research here. That's not a problem. I tell you what, Florida has no basements in the entire state.
I know.
The water table's literally 3 feet. The whole state is lush green and water. So when you have a swimming pool, you're actually pushing down into the water table, and your pool's got to be full all the time to have opposite pressure. Otherwise, your pool would actually collapse if you ever emptied it. You don't empty pools in Florida.
Now, you remember I lived 2 years in Florida, right?
I remember.
Right. I was involved in a golf resort near Lake Okeechobee. And when you dig down there, I mean, it's what, 2 feet and water is
Yeah,
popping up.
water's everywhere.
I don't know how good the water quality is, but what I saw from Florida was like a good area would be around Lake Okeechobee for off-grid parcels. That looks like a very remote.
Now, there are places to do it, right? So there is locations in Florida. Most of the state, obviously, for its beautiful coastlines, both on the Gulf Coast and Atlantic Ocean, right? The populations are there. But there is towns in between on both sides. And it takes about 3.5 hours across the state, essentially, depending where you're at.
We know. We drove across when Hurricane Irma hit. My wife said, "That's it. We're done here."
We're done.
We're done.
I had Hurricane Debbie a couple of weeks ago. I live in Lakewood Ranch in a new development, and the reason why our interesting area is the new community is only 8 years old. It was built around two mining holes, which they turn into man-made lakes. So when we had 16 or 17 inches of rain, literally 2 weeks ago, it drained no problem on my property, but other parts of Lakewood Ranch flooded, other parts of Sarasota flooded because they're building too much and not considering infrastructure, stormwater management, those things. So even off-grid's an issue, even your local cities, if they don't plan well, they create problems for sure.
Yeah, you have this also off grid, right? When you build off grid, you maybe don't want to pick the lowest spot on the property. Like Arizona has really heavy monsoons.
You do.
It rains like in Florida. In the summer down here, it comes down like out of buckets. I have a retaining pond. The number one retaining pond captures roughly 500,000 gallons in 1 hour. That thing is full when you have a real monsoon. In an hour, you can literally look how this thing is rising. It rained last time so hard that my covert, there's like a little bridge underneath is a covert, and the covert almost disappeared. That much was left, and the water was just going and going and going. So there's a lot of rain out there, and you can have flash flooding. As you know, more people drown in the desert or in this kind of stuff. So you really want to also pick your building site properly.
Yeah.
Like when I bought the land and it's just raw land, it's very hard to feel the geographics, to see it. You really got to measure everything with a nivelier, right? You look through, measure the elevations and make sure you're on the right spot. And then you want to look for certain things like ground erosion, where you see actually, oh, there's maybe water gushing right through here in the monsoon time. That's maybe another place you want to build. So there's a lot of stuff. Well, we will put it on our website and put through for how to pick the land, what to look for, and then people can always chat with experts from our group if they have questions.
So on our show going forward, maybe not necessarily next week, but we will start answering emails on our show. We'll have a segment, but we got about 8 minutes on our show left here. I want to close out with what else we're going to cover on the show. We're going to cover economic news because we're in a global financial crisis, a global financial reset. We're going to cover the lockdowns, right? Because I want to play two videos. One is that there's a complete data breach on Social Security. So all American social media, Americans' Social Security numbers are in the dark web, have already been leaked out there. So people need to get prepared.
Right.
And we got this. You got to listen to what's in the Mpox, monkeypox vaccines that are coming. It is a lethal kill shot. I'm not going to say what it is, but don't listen to me. Listen to this gentleman here. He nails it down, so we know what we're dealing with. Here it is.
I had to create an educational video about the monkeypox jab. I researched the ingredients. Lo and behold, it contains the most lethal antibiotic ever created. Cipro. Yes, the same antibiotic that put me in a wheelchair 6 years ago and disabled millions around the world. If you notice the videos I post to patients walking again from wheelchairs, the majority have consumed the antibiotic Cipro. Cipro contains fluoride, and you are injecting fluoride into your body. Now, why on earth would you place this toxic antibiotic with fluoride into the new shot? If you have any cellular damage or an adverse event from prior pokes or are on HIV medication, This one has the possibility of causing massive mitochondrial toxicity, as the antibiotic Cipro comes with a black box warning leading to permanent neuropathy, muscle wasting, and brain damage. I hope this knowledge allows you to make the right decision about your health. Thanks for watching.
That is a public service announcement if I've ever heard of it, Thomas. Go ahead.
I mean, fluoride, isn't this one of the most toxic things on the here?
Yeah, it's in all of the municipalities and city water. That's for sure, right? We've been sold a lie that it was safe for you. It's not safe for you, and now they're putting it in antibiotics. Not safe for you, and then they're putting that stuff into the monkeypox vaccines. And the monkeypox vaccines have nothing to do with the virus. They're not like putting it in inactive or deactivated virus in there. They're putting the self-assembly nanotechnology. It's another mRNA shot with maybe no mRNA, number one. They're putting the graphene oxide, the hydrogel. They want to connect you, the individual, up to the AI cloud that controls all humanity. That's exactly what they're trying. They're trying to nanoform us, nanoform the planet. And I'm serious about that. And they're also is going to weed out the weak humans, right? The ones that cannot handle the toxicity of shots. They're going to die at the young age. They're going to sterilize a lot of them, and they're going to wipe out the people that's over 50. Why people over 50? Well, I'll tell you one reason. They're the ones that actually know the history of the last 80, 100 years, the real history. If we're taking over, the history is going to be rewritten for the next generation. I can assure you that. Thomas?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I don't understand. When all the data came out about the COVID vaccines, right? How many people actually had severe effects from all that? I mean, it's insane. Why should anybody believe anything anymore and say, hey, let's try it. Let's try it just the next time. This time it will be great, right? Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, I know it's not. And again, so the Supreme Court ruling in July or June on Chevron, that was a 1984 case, which means the regulatory agencies that are unelected have zero authority over you and I as Americans. We do not have to follow mandates. You don't need to take the swab. Highly recommend you don't. Don't take the vaccines. Don't mask up. You don't have to listen to any of them. They are not your authority. God's your authority. The Constitution, that's your authority. That's it. Thomas?
Yeah, and I think that it's anyways, it should be to me as a person, what I want to put into myself, right? It's my decision.
Of course.
Right? It was the same with COVID. It's like, you have to. Why do I have to? If I want to get sick and I die, what? That's my problem, right? Yeah. But then they said, oh, yeah, but you will infect a lot of others, which we then later found out that's all nonsense.
It doesn't stop the spread at all. It's a total lie.
It didn't. So we know this by now. But at this time, everybody who said it was a conspiracy theorist.
Yes.
So the same will happen again. Conspiracy theorists. That's all not true.
Well, let's go to the data breach right here. Here we go. Social Security. Gotta love this.
Yesterday, it was reported that the largest hack took place on every American in the United States. And over the last 24 hours, the number one question I've been getting is, Steve, what do I do next? That is exactly what I'm recovering in this video. And as I mentioned yesterday when I reported live on this, I've got an identity protection company that I have hired years ago. They notified me in the morning that our information was out on the dark web. That's how I knew. Now, nobody's paying me to make this video. I'm not going to sell you anything, but I am going to just, for my audience, walk you through what are some of the things they told me that you should do right away to make sure that your information is not compromised. Because yes, they said your full name, your social security number, your address, your phone number, it's all out there. And with that information, they can open up credit cards, lines of credit, pull out loans. They can try to use that to pretend to be you to access your current accounts, your bank accounts. So there's a lot of stuff that you need to know about right now, because they're saying, yes, every person in the United States, including kids. The warning I got yesterday was that my daughter's information was out there. Everyone's information is out there now, and you need to take steps to protect yourself and your family. It's all the United States, the UK, and Canada. 2.9 billion records have been released into the dark web, and your information is floating around out there. So I'm going to go ahead and cover this. All the articles and resources I'm going to reference are going to be linked in the description below. I'm going to share with you phone numbers to freeze
Wow, wow, wow. So UK, Canada, and United States, all our records, is in China and elsewhere.
Right.
Just amazing, Thomas. So on our show, Prepping America, we're going to talk about security cameras for your property. We're going to talk about financial security. We're going to talk about communication on new shows, especially if you're out in the middle of nowhere in a desert. How do you communicate? You go on to Starlink. So we're going to talk to different vendors, bring on some experts, because you need all of it. And, people still want to be connected to the world. That is done through cell phones, through laptops, videos. You need communication, but you also, and if you want to use banking, you still need to protect your social security number. It's that simple, Thomas.
Yeah, by the way, I have one of these protection agencies, right?
Yep.
And a couple of weeks ago, bing, 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 my name, and unfortunately, I have the wrong phone number, is in the dark web. So try to sell my stuff, my information in the dark web. So there's a lot going on. I mean, but we will talk about this. It's a part of prepping, right? It's not just food, it's financials, it's protect yourself, it's security systems, all of it.
Very few off-gridders are going to actually be Jeremiah Johnson, living off the land and hunting animals. Very few, right? You're still connected to the world, especially if you're a family with kids still going to school, whatever it may be. So the reality is we are still connected to the Babylon beast system to a degree when you live off land. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not like you said Jeremiah Johnson, right? Or the mountain man or something like that.
Exactly.
But you putting a pretty big brick wall in front of you to separate you from the rest of the world, but it doesn't mean there's not a gate. So you still need to communicate. You still have stuff going on.
Right. You're not going to get utility bills anymore. Like, once you got water, power, and all that, you won't ever see a utility bill. Right. And you can grow your own food. So there's a lot of things you can do, but you still, if you want, you don't have to necessarily be connected to the bank. And if you just want to be able to grow your own food, live off land, whatever, once you're all set up. But the reality is most people living off grid still will be connected. Right, Thomas?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we have some guys out there, they're disconnected, but in any way. Okay. They are kind of Jeremiah Johnson fellas. Alone, single guys, survival mode.
Not every one of you is made like Jeremiah Johnson's all I can say. Not everyone.
Not
everyone's a hunter or fisher. I'm just the way it is.
Right. I mean, it's your choice, right? If you don't want to talk to nobody, it's fine. You're just in the middle of nowhere, and off you go. No problem.
Absolutely, Thomas. We got a couple minutes. Go ahead. Close out the show. We'll get into talking about next week. We're gonna have that checklist. We'll talk about what's on that checklist next week for sure. And we're going to probably bring on our first guest on the show. And we're going to give you the hot news because we do it every Friday. After a full week of insanity, what's going on in the world, we bring you the news so you can prepare yourself and whatever you need to do. Go ahead, Thomas.
Yeah, so we will go through everything from, I call it the mini prepper, just the regular preparedness, all the way to people interested in having compounds like we do out there now. But even also these compounds, you can have very small. You start with an acre, you can have 40 acres, whatever. So, but it's best to have a plan. Before you start, I always tell people out there, before you do anything, have a plan, because you will blast through so much money. People came out there with $200,000 and they said, that's a ton of money. I said, $200,000. If you don't watch it, it gets you started. Okay. It all depends what you want to do. Right. So a lot of people like, oh, off-grid living is cheap. Yeah, it's cheap when everything is done, when the infrastructure is ready.
Over 10 years, you get your money back, right?
Right. It's great. It's a great investment too, if we talk about the future, because
but there's an upfront cost, correct?
Right. But once all this is built, your property value just goes through the roof, because there is just not many, not even Arizona, many off-grid properties for sale which are fully developed. There's just a few, very, very few. Most of the people, once it's developed, they're not going to sell it to you anymore. They keep it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're doing it for a reason. All right, Thomas, thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Thomas and Hawk. Have a great weekend and week, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Prepping America. Ready for anything.